never shot a single basket with him in my entire life. I did see him run one time at the church picnic, and I just fell over laughing. My dad, who worked 3 jobs to keep our family together. By day, he was a social worker. By night, an adult educator. On the weekends, he was the town's music teacher. My mom, our town's librarian. And here we were, as a struggling family, trying to make it happen, coming up after the ravages of World War II in a town, San Diego, unlike Rochester, then just really getting started. And my dad, who gave up his life, as people like Ben Giambroni have done, to make other people's dreams come true. And I see Ben and I see Pam, and I just see my parents right there, people who so caring, so giving, so loving, leading this Compeer group right here where it started, under Bunny's direction, under her guidance, under her leadership, under her supervision. And I see my mom and dad. And this one special day when I'm in the 7th grade, my dad, on a particular Saturday afternoon, was driving me to yet another basketball game, because that's all I did. I used the game, because of my horrendous speech impediment, as a shield to where I never really did anything else as a youngster other than play ball. Yes, I was a good basketball player. It was always so very easy from the beginning. And on this particular Saturday, after having signed up for another of these endless and meaningless basketball games that I was just dying to always get to. Now, I didn't realize they were endless and meaningless until I started driving my own kids to these games. And why can't the referees get them over with so we can get on with something really important in life? But here I was in the front seat of the family's old broken down car, dreaming about the next game, about the jumpers, about the backdoor passes, about igniting the fast breaks, about getting rebounds and tipping in some errant shots from my teammates. And I'm caressing the ball and just visualizing, seeing how it's all going to play out. And here I looked over at my dad, who was driving this broken down piece of junk car, trying to figure out how we were going to live as we really existed, paycheck to paycheck. And I could see the frustration, I could see that angst, I could see the desperation really as the car is sputtering and bumbling along. Would we even make it to the game, which was my only concern in life? And as I looked at my dad that day, I realized that I owed my dad everything. And so I looked at him and I said, Dad, you know, I really appreciate you driving me to all these games here. And Dad, one day I'm going to pay you back, because Dad, one day I'm going to be in the NBA. And Dad, I'm going to be in the NBA and I'm going to become the best player in that entire league. And when you're that best player in the NBA, Dad, they call you the most valuable player, the MVP. And you know what, Dad? When you're that guy, that one person who is the best in the entire league, they give you a free car, Dad, and I'm going to win that car and give it to you. And my dad, driving the car, looks over at me and said, well, Billy, now that's really nice, but tell me, what is this NBA you're talking about? I am proud to say that my dad, who had glasses this thick, who had hearing aids in both ears. I can't believe the state of California gives this guy a driver's license. And now he gets up every day, puts on the NBA's all-time team jacket, this red, garish leather jacket, as thick as can be. It's 100 degrees every day in San Diego. He puts this jacket on and gets in that MVP car that I was able to present him, and he drives around town waving to all his buddies. As I know Mr. Palermo, as I know Ben Giambroni, there is no emotion stronger in the human species than pride. And the pride of a father, is there anything that can match it? To see the joy on a young person's face, to see Josh and Lily stand up here today as the recipients of your generosity, to see Pam and Ben stand up here so proudly. Believe me, when that person is your own child, as Mr. Palermo, as Ben and Pam are here today, there is nothing more powerful on the face of this earth. And when we're here to celebrate the greatness of Compeer and to realize the difference that we are going to make in these people's lives, young and old, with the 44 million Americans across this great land of ours who suffer from some degree of mental illness, most of them in the NBA, yes, I agree, but with Compeer's bases around this land, 10 now regional headquarters, sadly, with guys like Latrell Sprewell, Ron Artest, and Rasheed Wallace. It's really disappointing that Bunny and Ben have not been able to open franchises in Indianapolis and Detroit. But when I think of the celebration that we have here today and the greatness, for me, it was always basketball. Until sadly, a day, March 15th, 1990, more than 15 and a half years ago, and I was lying in a hospital bed in Whittier, California, the birthplace of Richard Nixon, the Prince of Darkness. And here I was, about that day to undergo my 30th operation. Now, the first 29 operations, they were a piece of cake. They were all about me getting back on that basketball court so I could be a part of a special team, so that I could have a friend. But this 30th operation, this was different. This was about them fusing my ankle, where they took a big electric saw and they cut all the ends of the bones off in my foot and ankle, pushed everything together in this big, massive lump and blob of bleeding bone, put two big plates on either side of it, and then went over to Rick and Artie, the construction guys right here in Rochester, and they got the power drill, and they went around and bolted my foot together so that I could come here to the Compeer Luncheon at the Rochester Civic Center, right next to the Rochester War Memorial Auditorium, where I used to dance the night away. How can this be? The long, strange trip indeed continues. And while I was lying on that hospital bed, realizing that I would never run again, I would never have that grand celebration where it's all so perfect and you're on the team, you're in the huddle, you're on the bus, you're in the locker room, you're out in the game, and the coach is just doing his thing and all the guys playing and celebrating so wonderfully. I knew that was over. I knew I would never be that guy again. So through the tears of sadness, the isolation, the loneliness, there I was wondering what to do. And so it dawned on me that day, when you're 6'11", you have red hair, big nose, freckles, goofy, nerdy look, speech impediment, a dead head, having been to over 650 concerts now, that television was the only career possibility for me to go into. And while I couldn't get a job at the beginning, I told you how easy it was in basketball for me. At the very beginning, they looked at me and said, "No way, Walton, we are not putting you on TV. You're going to start stumbling, stuttering, spitting. It's all just going to be absolutely awful. You're going to be talking about Bob Dylan and Jerry Garcia, all your buddies out there on the Dead Tour, and we're just not going to have that." But I begged and I pleaded and I worked so hard to finally get my first job in television. Little did it matter, it wasn't even television, but I had a job. I broadcasted my first game. It was on the radio from Bakersfield, California, a CBA game on Christmas Day for no pay, and the team was folding the next day. But hey, I was a broadcaster and I had a chance to make a difference, to be a friend. And there I was out there. I finally got my first big chance in broadcasting. I was assigned by CBS and Billy Packer to work the NCAA tournament, and I had a chance to call a big game, the first big game of now what's turned out to be a 16-year career in broadcasting. And this was a game between Florida State and Indiana University. Now, when you're from UCLA and have played for John Wooden like I am, Indiana University, that's the evil empire. And Bob Knight, that's Darth Vader out there. So while I'm out there broadcasting the game, in the first half, Indiana is just playing absolutely awful, and Florida State is playing the best basketball game you've maybe ever seen. And they have this one player who's playing like a combination of Elgin Baylor and Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, who's right here in Rochester today. And who would have ever thought the long, strange trip continues? And as halftime comes, Indiana is down 20 points, and Bob Knight just absolutely loses control, or maybe it was his true character. How can you ever tell with a phony like that? Here he is, he walks to the